Hey everyone, and welcome to the Partners of Commercial Fishermen podcast. I'm so happy that you're here and that you decided to join us today for this awesome conversation. And if you're one of my Partners of Commercial Fishermen, you know how much I love you, the fishermen, supporters of, family, friends. Thank you for joining us each week as we get to hang out and talk about the nuances of the commercial fishing lifestyle. And if you're new here, I'm your host, Megan Waldrop, and I'm so happy that you're here. And if you are here, you might be new because you listened to part one of this podcast episode on Brenda Winkle's Yes-Filled Life. If so, I'm so happy you're here. And if you haven't heard part one, I highly invite you and encourage you to go check it out. It's really great. I'll leave a link in the show notes for podcast, The Yes-Filled Life. And also as a reminder to partners, I wanted to give a little background of, the fishing industry and why the Partners of Commercial Fishermen community exists in the first place. And it really boils down to something simple, which is most people don't think twice about how fresh wild-caught seafood gets to their plate. And I get it. I didn't really think about it before I started dating my husband 10 years ago. But behind every hardworking commercial fisherman is a partner holding down life on land and often juggling everything from paperwork to parenting to finances, all while their loved one is working one of the most dangerous jobs in the world. Commercial fishing has a 28 times higher fatality rate than any job in the United States of America. This is a study done by the CDC over a 7-year period. So yeah, it can be a little stressful at times. We know that our loved ones are going out to do this dangerous job to harvest this incredible wild-caught seafood. And yes, because of that, it's a unique and often isolating lifestyle. It's filled with long stretches of separation, unpredictable schedules, and constant uncertainty. And on top of that, friends and family don't usually understand. And there's never really been a space for these women to connect until now. And that's why I created the Partners of Commercial Fishermen, also lovingly known as POCF. This is an innovative online space that women can find community, education, and authentic, real-life, real-time connection with others who understand the ups and downs of this lifestyle. And the POCF community is here to remind partners that they're not alone and that their role is essential to the health of our coastal communities. These are the pillars of our coastal communities, these women, these partners. This is the reason why the commercial fishing industry is the multi-billion-dollar industry it is today and has been so successful for centuries, to be honest. So whether you're connected to the fishing industry or not, POCF is about something that we all need: community, resilience, and knowing someone's got your back. And every week on this podcast, that's what we do. We talk about the intricacies of this lifestyle and what partners are regularly managing, which include relationships. That's the tie that binds here. I mean, we are the Partners of Commercial Fishermen. We want to learn how to have that loving connection with our fishermen, whether they're gone for months at a time, or even if it's a long day when they're out to shore or they're out to sea. And we want to know how we can better those relationship connections and also learn how we can grow as individuals during those times of separation. We also talk about mental wellness, of course, because it can be very stressful to think about your partner out there. But there are tools that we have that we can manage it. And this episode is a huge part of that. And I'm really happy that we're here together, that we can listen to it. We also talk a lot about safety. As you guessed, 28 times higher fatality rate. We are dedicated to bringing our fishermen home safe and learning how to do that, which starts with love. And it starts with our encouragement for them to wear safety gear, because 8 out of 10 fishermen who fall overboard and who were lost at sea were not wearing safety gear. But the number one reason that they will wear safety gear is because their partners tell them to. And the number 2 reason is because their kids tell them to. And it really shows that our influence is more than we realize. We also talk about finances here because the industry can be so volatile. It's more of a feast or famine sometimes. I mean, for lack of a better words. But it's, it could be such a great year or a season. And then sometimes you're like freaking out and wondering how you guys are going to make to the next season. That's kind of the nature of it. It's a gamble. It's kind of part of the game. Another huge thing that we talk about here is advocating for our fisheries. Our fishermen are so busy fishing that a lot of the time that responsibility falls on the partners. The partners are the ones writing letters to government officials, to senators, all the going up to Washington to speak, to make sure that our fisheries are not only being regulated correctly, but in a way that's going to sustain life for these coastal communities, but also be able to provide wild-caught seafood to not only the United States, but the world. And we talk about so much more. And that's why I'm thrilled to have Brenda Winkle back on the podcast. We love Brenda here so much. And we have done a crossover podcast, which has been so much fun. Like I mentioned, part 1 is on her podcast, The Yes Filled Life. And part 2, right now, you're listening to it. It's called From Loneliness to Fulfillment, Even When You're Alone, with Brenda Winkle. And I'm really, really excited about this one because in this raw and heartfelt episode, Brenda and I come together to share personal stories of loneliness, anxiety, and what it means to build a life of connection and meaning. From my cross-country drive toward a sober life in California to Brenda's empty nest revelation that shook her to the core. We explore how loneliness can hit us even when we're surrounded by people, and how healing begins when we allow ourselves to be seen. And we got some freebies for you too. So Brenda has this incredible energy audit. You can get this energy audit just in 10 minutes. You can get clarity around what's really fueling and draining you. If you go to brendawinkle.com/audit, she's got another freebie called Meditation to Feel Better, which is at brendawinkle.com/feelbetter. And I'm going to leave a link in the show notes that is for anyone, whether you're in the fishing industry or not. These tools are super helpful. It's called 5 Quick Tips to Surviving a Fishing Season. And it's perfect for anyone dealing with any kind of feeling of loneliness, whether you're with your partner, whether you're actually alone. But this is the way that we can cultivate that independence and also find fulfillment in it that's going to serve us for our lifetime. And so this episode is for anyone navigating change or craving deeper connection or seeking peace in the quiet moments. Doesn't that sound great? Can I get an amen, namaste? Let's dive in. I'm Megan Waldrop, host of the Partners of Commercial Fishermen podcast, an extension of an online community for partners to connect and feel less alone. Our podcast invites fishermen, family, friends, and supporters of the industry to learn, laugh, vent, and hear stories about this incredibly unique way of life. What do you say? Let's dive in. There's one subject that we're constantly talking about, whether on the podcast or in our Partners of Commercial Fishermen community, and that is safety. And here's a hard truth. Did you know 8 out of 10 fishermen lost at sea weren't wearing a PFD? It's time to change that. At Kent Safety Products, they make life-saving gear designed for real fishermen. No bulk, no hassle, just protection that works when you need it most. They also have the most Coast Guard approved PFDs on the market. So whether you're fishing in hot or cold environments, a fisherman can find one to fit their needs. And partners, let's just pause for a moment and think about how much it would ease stress to know that your fisherman is protected each time they go to sea. It's a lovely thought, right? And as a side note, we only partner with companies that have heart, those who truly want the best for our fishing communities and have high quality products. That's why I am proud to have Kent Safety Products as a sponsor. Visit kentsafetyproducts.com and find the right PFD for you and your fishermen. That's kentsafetyproducts.com. As you know, safety is one of our biggest concerns as partners of commercial fishermen. So if you or someone you know has been injured while working on the fishing vessel, you don't have to navigate it alone. Do you know your rights and what happens after an injury? Would you like proactive legal education before issues arise? Need expert guidance before making decisions that could impact your case? Attorney Michael Flynn has been fighting for injured fishermen for decades. And as a side note, we only partner with sponsors who genuinely care about commercial fishing families, which is why I'm proud to introduce Michael as a sponsor of the POCF community. You can contact him today for a consultation at flynnworkus.com. That's FLYNNWIRKUS.com. And tell him that the Partners of Commercial Fishermen sent you.
Okay, Megan, I'm so excited to continue this conversation because when we left off on your Yes Filled Life, we had just discovered that you at one time got in your car and moved from South Carolina to California to start a new life.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that journey?
Oh, yeah. And let's see. It started with a major drinking problem. That's what happened for years. And this actually has a lot to do with our loneliness theme is not dealing with feelings of not knowing what the hell I was doing and feeling super lost and just wanting to hang out and go to happy hour and forget about everything. And it got to the point where, I mean, it was just not going to work anymore. This one person told me, this biker yogi that I met in Mexico once, he said, you know, even chocolate gets old after a while. And I love that because for me, I was drinking as much as I could because I was trying to check out. I just didn't want to deal with it. So finally, I woke up one day and I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm done. I need to go. And I was planning to go to California for a while because that was my ultimate dream since I was 15. I felt that connection. And at 30 years old, I thought I have absolutely nothing to lose. I need to get the heck out of Charleston, South Carolina, which I love so much. But at the time, it was not serving me. And I packed my car and drove to the California and did that, the Western migration story. I wanted to start a new life. And I did. And for that, I remember, actually, I was on this highway called the loneliest highway in America, I think is one of the.
Oh man, that's
right?
Perfect for this conversation.
Exactly. I believe it was from New Mexico to Arizona. There's a strip of highway. I could have this wrong, but it's somewhere in the Southwest. I mean, I think there was over 100 miles without a gas station. So you had to make sure you had fuel and you were going. So quick disclaimer. Okay. So I did get the names mixed up with this highway. The loneliest highway is actually in Nevada. And the one that I'm talking about was in New Mexico, Arizona. And I believe it's called Highway 491. And at one point there was a sign when I got on that highway that said no gas for 100 miles. That is what I'm talking about. There is the loneliest highway. Someone was telling me about that before I went off on my trip. And I felt so alone on that 491 highway that it did feel like the loneliest highway. So for me, it was the loneliest highway, but I just wanted to make that quick disclaimer. So thanks for hanging in there. Back to the episode. I get on this highway and it felt liberating and terrifying. I was crying. I was laughing. I was singing to the top of my lungs with the windows down. And I just, in that car, I knew that no matter what's going to happen, the fact that I was on this road right now meant that everything was going to be okay. And I would always touch back to this moment. And so I got to California. I didn't really know anyone. I was staying with family in LA, but then I thought, I need to find my own California. It's such a beautiful state. I've been wanting to move here my whole life. I don't really need to be in LA. So I took off and drove up the coast. And my first stop was a little Casitas road. It said Casitas Pass. And I was like, oh, Casita. I love that little Casita house. That's cute. So I drove in and it was Carpinteria, which ended up being my home. And it's the sweetest little beach town. Have you ever been?
No, I haven't.
No, it's so cute. It's between Ventura, California and Santa Barbara, California. It's just charming. The main road goes straight to the beach. It's very quaint. And I thought, oh, I could build a life here. I kept driving. I saw Santa Barbara. I was like, oh yeah, this works. And I saw a sign that said Montecito. I was like, I think Oprah lives there. I think this is an okay neighborhood. But regardless, I actually intentionally, for the first year I moved there, didn't make any friends because I didn't want to make any friends. I thought this is the only time that I'm ever going to be anonymous in California. I'm going to embrace this quote unquote welcomed loneliness. It was welcome aloneness, actually. And because I didn't want to just jump into a new friend group because I don't know what kind of maybe dramas there might be or any kind of bias that there might be. And you're only anonymous one time, I felt. So it took me a year before I started making friends, and I loved every minute of it. I was like, I'm not dating anyone. I don't want to talk to anybody. And it was the first time I pursued my career as a writer. I sent off a pitch to a local newspaper and they gave me a job, and I could not believe that someone wanted to pay me to have a column. I still have the envelope framed on my office.
I love this. So it was chosen loneliness, chosen aloneness. Did the feeling of loneliness ever become present in that time?
Oh, yes. Okay. So it probably came around 2 years after that. I, what do I say? Didn't stop drinking right then because, then I could handle it. And so I was just having a couple drinks here and there, but then it ended up being a hot mess like it was before. So it was during that hot mess time, my second time of attempting sobriety, that the loneliness came in. And I had a column called I Heart SB, I Heart Santa Barbara. It was a take on Sex in the City meets Santa Barbara. So it was documenting,
my dating life there. My friend, actually, we went to dinner one night. She was like, you need to write about this. And so I ended up making a column out of it. But it was during that time, actually. I was going to, get free dinners at these places because I was one of the writers at the paper. I was going out having fun, but at some point, it just felt empty. Like I wasn't living my truth. I was still leaning on alcohol, and that really hit hard. And so it was the day that my now husband, he walked into my office. I was actually writing I Heart Santa Barbara piece about how to keep a lover. I was kind of seeing this really good looking younger man at the time. And so it was kind of like a little satire. I hear a knock on the door and someone goes, "Are you Megan?" And I turn around and I give him the once over. I look him up and down. I thought, I am Megan and I am whoever you want me to be. Who are you? And just this gorgeous man. But also I had the bravery of knowing I have a deadline. And if this totally bombs, I have something to write about. So that was actually my other motivation to keep talking to him, besides the fact that he just seemed so genuine. Fast forward, he doesn't drink. He hasn't drank in probably over 20 years now. But his sobriety inspired me because I thought, oh, he still goes to shows. He still hangs out with friends and goes to dinner, but he just doesn't drink, and he's not anti-drinking. Like I've had friends that don't drink and they're like, I just don't know why alcohol is legal. I'm like, I don't feel that way. Like just because I have an issue with it doesn't mean anybody else can. I think it's great if people can enjoy it. So seeing him able to enjoy being out without alcohol, without that Band-Aid that I used to help with loneliness was a huge inspiration for me, for sure.
Well, something, if we just zoom out for a second and we just sort of analyze what's happened here, you took yourself out of the familiar, put yourself into something new, and you waited until something felt really right and aligned before you acted on it. You were willing to be alone until the right thing happened. And then because you had questioned whether or not the drinking was for you, and because you were opening up this space to be curious around what it would be like to have a life without drinking, Chris came into your life.
Right.
It was the courage that you took every step along the way that made that possible.
That's beautiful. Thanks for shining a light on that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it can be interesting talking about sobriety and what that means for different people and how people react to it too. Some people kind of, people have their opinions. That's fine. And I don't ever want to make anybody feel alone if they're not sober. That's the thing too. Like if you're enjoying your wine, man, I wish I could do that. I really wish I could enjoy wine like you can, Brenda. I love that you can go to wine tastings or have a glass of wine and that's it. I mean, that would not be possible for me. I would continue to crave it and count down the hours till when it would be appropriate to drink. Like it was just wired in my brain. And something you said on your podcast our first part of the conversation was about how we can, if we overthink, that makes the anxiety even more intense. And then learning now how we can truly change our brain. That blows my mind, this science. Can you please dive into that more? Like how people are able to restructure the way that we think, our go-to thoughts?
Yeah, I'd love to. So let me just back up and quick reminder for anybody that didn't catch that episode of Your Yes Filled Life. We basically have two nervous systems depending on what map you're using. I mean, we've got more maps, like we have the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system, but I'm talking about the nervous system as a whole. We have the autonomic nervous system, which controls all of the things you don't think about. It controls like your stomach function and your heartbeat and different things like that. Well, there's two things in the autonomic nervous system that you can take control of. One is the eye blinking, and the other's your breath. And the breath is the only thing that can connect the conscious mind to the subconscious mind. It's the only thing that can do both. Because since it's normally an autonomic nervous system response, because normally you don't even think about breathing. But the minute that you take control and you create some mindfulness and intentionality behind the breath, it begins to signal all different kinds of things to the body around safety. Because if you're in a place where you can actually take control of the breath, the body begins to believe, oh, wait, they're taking control of the breath. That must mean we're safe. If they have the presence of mind to control the breath, I can stand down a little bit. And so then we begin to have all of these cascade types of things that create calmness in the body. We bring the vagus nerve back online, which is the largest nerve in the body. It goes from the base of the skull down to the bottom of the spine. And it's not like one long line. It's like a tree. It's got all different kinds of branches. When that vagus nerve is online, everything internally is functioning properly. We're digesting things. Our heart rate is regulated. We have what's called heart rate variability, which is where your heart can beat at different rates within the same period of time. And the greater your heart rate variability, the stronger your heart health. And so when your vagus nerve is online, all those things are happening. But once you're in a stress response and the body perceives anything to be a threat, like whether it's you have a big meeting coming up and you're the presenter. And so as long as you're within what's called your window of tolerance, that stress can be very helpful. It can be motivating. It can give you ideas. It can help you get things done. But once you cross that window of tolerance and you're into the threshold of an actual stress response, the vagus nerve turns off. And so that's one of the reasons why you get stomach upset. You might have like bathroom emergencies, if you know what I'm saying. When you get into a stress response, that's why you feel like you can't take a deep breath. It's why you feel that pressure on your chest. It might be why your hands get sweaty, because all of these things are your body's way of saying, ooh, something's not quite safe for us. And so when we breathe, we can communicate safety to the body, which just makes everything work smoother, and it slows down our thoughts because we're changing the hormone cocktail that's in our body because the vagus nerve is now back online.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for that prescription. For me, I'm going perimenopause. How can I breathe my way through healing of loneliness through perimenopause? Holy hormones. Because it is a different body. And I'm going through the body, you're going, oh God, what's going on now? Is this something? And then I'll start, then I start to have anxiety and I'm like, wait, this is not helping.
Yeah. So perimenopause and menopause, that's real. That's absolutely impacting anxiety. That's exacerbating your stress response because you're just generally at a higher level. And then we have those hot flashes, right? So one of the things that you can do if you start to notice that is roll your tongue, and then take breaths in through your tongue. It's a cooling breath.
Oh, wow. That's so good.
So, it might feel a little bit weird if you're like with a client or in front of a class or those kind of things to do, but you might, turn around for a second, take a breath in through your rolled tongue, and you can feel that cooling response in the body.
Oh my gosh. Can that be a replacement for hormone replacement therapy?
I don't know if it can be a replacement, but it definitely works well in conjunction too, if that feels like if you're on hormone replacement.
Does that help with hormones or digestion as well, that kind of breathing?
Anytime that we take control of the breath, it is helping with our breathing and with our hormones, because we're lowering the body's stress response. And the stress response hormone is, well, there's a lot of them. There's a cocktail, but we're talking about cortisol and adrenaline. And so when we lower the body's stress response, we can bring in other feel-good hormones like serotonin and dopamine. We can feel those more acutely, which is why some people feel like euphoria in a breathwork session, because we're bringing in those feel-good chemicals. The other thing that you can do is just start to appreciate, use it as a verb and pick 3 things in your space right now that you appreciate. We could even try it together. Let's just look in our spaces and find 3 things that we appreciate. And I invite you, the listener, also do this right now. Wherever you're looking or driving, just find 3 things that you appreciate. Notice how you feel right now before we do it. And then let's find 3 things and then we'll come back and we'll talk about how you feel.
Okay, great. Should I share my 3 things?
Yeah, I'd love to hear.
Okay. One of them is talking to you. That is definitely top of the list. My other is my kombucha in my wine glass. And then my other is my clean notepad with a pencil. I don't know what makes me happier than a clean page and a pencil. I mean, many things, but that is the top of my list. What are your 3 things?
So I have this fiddle leaf fern that's in the corner that I get to see, and I love it. It just makes me happy. I see it growing. I noticed that this morning it was taller than it was last week. And so I was appreciating that. I was absolutely appreciating you and appreciating the conversation and the connection and feeling so much gratitude and appreciation for that. And then I was just noticing, remember our mentor, Julie Solomon?
Yes.
She sent me this tea mug that has this heating coaster to keep it warm. And I don't have it plugged in right now because I don't need it, but that's where my water was sitting. And so I was looking at that, just thinking about how grateful I was for that experience and to have met you.
Oh, that's so wonderful. Yes. Shout out to Julie Solomon. She's beautiful in every way possible. And holding a container for women like she did is its own kind of magic, which I love that you have your own containers. And can you tell us what kind of places and ways that we can connect with you before I forget to ask before we drop off? But no, we still have time to chat. But how do we connect with you and get in your world?
So the hub of everything is the website, brendawinkle.com. It has whatever current offers I'm working on. And then I'm active on social media, probably most active on Instagram. And it's just my name, Brenda Winkle. And I'd love to know, for the people that are meeting you for the first time, how can people reach out and connect to you?
Sure. Thank you. You can go find me and my community at POCFpride.com. That stands for Partners of Commercial Fishermen, POCFpride.com. And also on Instagram at Megan.Waldrop. And Partners of Commercial Fishermen, if I may share just a brief about this unique lifestyle. So it started with feeling completely lonely within a table of other people. So this all started when I was sitting at dinner with my now husband and people he knows. I won't call anybody out. Everybody's wonderful. But at some point, they were talking about fishing, and the first 5 minutes or 10 minutes is really cool. These stories are incredible. You just can't even imagine these stories of the sea, and wow. And then the conversation shifts to boat engines and parts and things I couldn't care less about. And I was thinking, help me, get me out of this conversation. Can we talk about art or books or something I can relate to, please? And it was in that moment where I also felt guilty that I'm thinking, oh, wait, shouldn't, that word's terrible, but aren't I supposed to feel supportive to this person and really be engaged in this conversation? And really, I was just kind of getting pissed. So I went on, I was like, I wonder if there's other people like me out there. I just didn't know, because I'd never met another person that dated a commercial fisherman. I didn't even know what the heck commercial fishing was. And for anybody who's unfamiliar, this is not aquaculture. It's commercial fishing, like the show Deadliest Catch and Wicked Tuna that you see, and also the movie The Perfect Storm, which I will never watch in my entire life. But that is what commercial fishing is. So you can imagine what it's like for the loved ones.
Right. So it's out in the open sea. It's not somebody standing there on the edge of a dock with a fishing pole. It's right on the sea, on a boat.
On a boat, remote ocean. You can't talk to them for long periods of time, depending. I mean, if they have a satellite phone, even the satellite phone might not work. But fishermen can go off for just a day, or they can go off for weeks or months at a time. And there are women, the partners back home, that are holding down the fort, life on land, talking about parenting, paperwork, and finances, all while their partner's doing one of the most dangerous jobs in the world. It's 28 times higher fatality rate than the national average. This was a CDC study over a 7-year period. So it's stressful. But that loneliness happens because you have no one to relate to. So I didn't have anybody to relate to. And so I went online and looked for any kind of support, because I grew up as a military kid. I'm an Army kid. And I remember seeing the spouses say goodbye to their partners for long periods of time, dangerous jobs. You don't know if you're going to see them again. And I thought, man, they have lots of military spouse support, as they should. I wonder if there's anything out there for partners of commercial fishermen. And I Googled how to date a commercial fisherman. Those were my exact words. And absolutely nothing popped up. And I was completely surprised. There was nothing about this lifestyle. There was something about dating a sports fisherman, but it was more like, their tackle boxes on the table, and I'm like, I'm worried about him dying. Like, where's that kind of support? So I wrote a piece called 9 Things to Know When Dating a Commercial Fisherman. My journalism instinct kicked in. I just wrote it on my blog and I just put publish. I didn't think about it. I was like, at least something's out there. But that was the one post that people wrote in from all over the world saying that they could relate. Like, oh my gosh, I totally feel the same way. I mean, Australia, Canada, the UK, all over the US. And I thought, oh my God, I'm not alone. Like that loneliness, it immediately went away because I knew that others could relate to me. And I knew that I wasn't the only one thinking about not wanting to talk about boat parts. You know what I'm saying? And
oh my gosh. Yeah. I love that you created what you needed. I love that. I mean, that takes so much courage and focus and belief in the mission. And I'm so excited that you created that community because like you say, it's a standalone thing. It's the only community of its kind.
It really is. And thank you for that. And it wouldn't be the community if it wasn't for these women out there that were open to share their experiences. So when I got these emails and comments, I thought, oh my gosh, well, I'm going to write more about the lifestyle, but also I'm going to interview these women to see what it's like for them. I mean, what's it like in Oregon where you live? There's lots of commercial fishing in Oregon, amazing fishing families. And there's an Oregon Fishermen's Wives group too out there if anybody's out in Oregon. But just to see what they're going through, because there's moms that are raising kids for up to 6 months at a time. There's some that have just met their fishermen. They don't know what's going on, but it was neat to show others that there's others like us out there. And this is how they get through what they're doing, and this is how they embrace the joys of alone time, which is a joy. And also, something we all can enjoy, hopefully, for the rest of our lives.
And coming back to where we started with loneliness, one option might be that you create the community that you need, just like Megan has done.
Love that. That's so true. It is like a call to arms. You put something out there, you don't know what's going to happen, and someone could write back. And it's either, even if you don't have a blog, you could go to a forum and say, I'm thinking about this, and connect with people. I know Meetup too. People like to connect there. Also, really interesting new hobbies that you want to join. I heard there's a silent book club that I'm really into. You don't even have to talk to anybody. You just read in a coffee shop with people, and you don't even have to talk.
That sounds great. I joined a Portland Girlfriends group this year. I joined it in November when I decided I was going to stay in Portland for a while. I was looking on Facebook, girlfriend group, and found this girlfriend group. And the founder did exactly what you did, which is she moved from Texas in October, and she was like, I don't have any friends and I want friends. So I'm going to start this girlfriends group. And when I joined, I think there was like 135 people. It's like 700 people that are in the group right now. And there's events, multiple times a week where you can tap into and go to anything that you want. You can create your own events. And it's been so impactful for me because I've made a lot of new friends in that group, which is just to say you can also do what Megan has done in any capacity, whether it's a Facebook group or just start talking about it on Instagram or Substack. There's not one way it can be done.
Yes. I love that you went out and searched for a girlfriend's group. How did you find it?
I literally was putting the search bar of Facebook, girlfriends group in Portland. And so I ended up with this one called Portland Girlfriends Group. And that's exactly what it is. It's just this group. But since then, it's funny. One thing leads to another. And then you can think, oh, well, maybe I should join a civic organization, and maybe I should join, all these other things. And so it's funny. Once you kind of break the seal on getting out of your comfort zone and getting out of your own way, all of a sudden other ideas start to flood in. So now I am joining a Kiwanis club, and I reactivated my membership in PEO, and my dance community is coming. They're not coming back in. I'm coming back in to the dance community. So that, there's lots of different ways that it can be done. But the first step, like for both of us, was you just got to get out of the house.
Right. I love that. Like what we were talking about at the part 1 of the podcast on your yes-filled life. You created an anchor for yourself. You have this new community and a new ritual, a new totally different ritual where you can meet other people. And I actually, speaking of rituals, I would love to know, do you have personal morning rituals that you're open to sharing? And if you do, do they vary? Do you stick to the same type of ritual every day? How does it work for you?
So it's kind of a yes and. I do have a ritual in the morning, and non-negotiable is some kind of meditation in the morning. And so I'm like at 24 years of a meditation practice daily. And I think I've missed maybe 5 days in that 24 years. And so that's non-negotiable. And then depending on what I need, my body needs, my spirit needs, I'll choose from a menu. Maybe it's breath work. Maybe it's a walking meditation with breath. That's something that you can also do really easily, is like put your breath to the rhythm of your steps. And so it's not like you have to step out of your life for all of these morning rituals. Sometimes you can incorporate it into your life and do more than one thing at a time. And so occasionally I'll do a walking meditation with breath. And so let's see, there's the meditation. There's always some kind of breath, whether it's a standalone breathwork session or walking with breath. And then I spend time with my dog. I always walk him in the morning. We always spend some time together getting breakfast and those kind of things. And then some other things that I might choose from would include listening to Abraham Hicks or some other spiritual teacher, journaling. I'm a big believer in you can be a content creator or you can be a content consumer, but not both. And so I'm often creating things, whether it's something I'm writing or a video or an idea for a video. And so that's part of my morning ritual as well. What about for you? What's your morning like?
That's such a cozy ritual. I also remember you saying that you love chamomile tea. So every time I have chamomile tea, I think of you.
I love that. It is my favorite. Absolute my favorite.
I love it. It was the tea I didn't really think about. I'd go peppermint, but then I'm like, wait, Brenda talks about this chamomile tea. I need to try chamomile tea again. It was like reintroduced into my life. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, my morning rituals, and same here, non-negotiable meditation every single morning. Have to, for sure. That is my medicine every morning. Those are my vitamins. Doing meditation, practicing, not doing, practicing. And I now do physical therapy. I've been working with a physical therapist because I'm a writer and I've sat so long that I'm like now going into it. I'm like, is this TMI? My hip flexors. I need to give my hip flexors give more strength to that. And also now that I'm over 40, lifting weights has become a thing. So now I'm like, okay, I'm doing that. And then I practice yoga every single day as well. So those are my 3. My morning's pretty long. It's about 2 hours for the morning. So I get up around 5. I used to get up at 4, but I'm a 5 a.m.er. And same with journaling. I can tell when I haven't journaled for a while. It definitely I feel it in my body for sure. And then also getting outside. I know that sounds so simple, but also solopreneur, working inside, writing all the time. I forget, go outside. Like even if I'm going outside to stretch or even pull some weeds from my garden or just a quick walk around the block, sunshine. I have to remind myself, sunshine, get outside. So those are all my non-negotiables for sure. And I love that meditation is such a prominent part of both of our practices because there's nothing like it. There really isn't.
It's true.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I also have outside as part of my non-negotiable, but I hadn't named it that way. But like I'm walking my dog. I live in a townhouse and we have a tiny little backyard, but it is up against a loud street. And so it's not enjoyable to play there. So every time he needs to go outside, we go for a walk. So, he's a lucky guy and gets to walk, 5 to 6 times in the average day. And so, yes, being outside is non-negotiable. The only exception I will make is if it's too icy to safely walk.
Oh, yeah, that's a good exception for sure. Talk about hip flexors and physical therapy.
Exactly. Exactly. And that also is part of my own wellness. And like you say, lifting weights after a certain age becomes imperative.
Right, right. I know. And now I'm having these conversations with my doctor. I'm like, oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. And also, I'm going to have more conversations with my doctor when I'm thinking, hey, I'm on year 2 or 3 of perimenopause. What do I do? Everything changes every month. But anyway, we can go over there. But I'd love to know, because I know your time is precious and we've had such an incredible conversation. And one of the things I definitely want to talk about before we leave is I'd love to know how you got into your meditation practice. What brought you to meditation? 24 years. That's really incredible.
Well, this is a funny story because it wasn't like I even knew what meditation was. So I taught full-time public music education for 26 years. And so it was like probably 2000, around there, that I was coming home and I was utterly exhausted and I had nothing left. And so I would just lay on the couch and I was feeling like a sense of, I had just moved to Kansas City. It was not everything that I had hoped it would be. I hoped it would solve problems in my marriage. I hoped that it would, be like the saving grace. But that phrase, no matter where you go, there you are. That was what I was experiencing in Kansas City. And my family, I had an aunt and uncle that were living there that I was just getting to know at the time. And so I was feeling like I had connection and also feeling lonely and exhausted. And so I would come home from work and I would lay on the couch and I just started this breath pattern where I would breathe in, let go, and then I would breathe out, let God. And so I would just have this thing, or I would just in, let go, out, let God. And I would just do it until I felt better. And usually it was like 15 or 20 minutes. And then one day I happened to be home and watched the Oprah show. And Oprah was talking about this thing called meditation. And I was like, wait, that's what I'm doing. I had no idea that that's what that was. I didn't have language around it. It's just something my body or my spirit knew was essential for me.
That's so lovely.
How did you find meditation? Oh, I'm sorry.
Well,
I didn't interrupt you.
No, I just love how it just was innate and it was always there. And I think that's because you're such a strong, energetic, I feel like, can I say portal? You are like your own, you are. And so it was able to come out of you in that way. And I feel that we all have that sense of self within us. It's just how deep are we able to go to let it speak to us, right? Mm-hmm. Meditation actually to me came about when I was in that dark spiral of addiction and with drinking a lot. And this was right before I went to California, where I think I had gone to California and I came back. My mom had knee surgery or something. I was here to help my mom recover. And that was another part where I felt lonely. I felt lost. Like, what am I actually doing? And then she actually gave me the book, oh gosh, Untethered Soul by, is it Michael Singer? Is that his name? Singer?
I think it's I know what you're talking about. Untethered Soul.
Yes.
Michael something, definitely.
Yes. So yes, it's by Michael Allen Singer. So
okay, perfect.
Untethered Soul. So I read that book and it brought me to tears. I just love that book so much. And that was the first time I actually went on the dock in Wilmington where they were living at the time. I was not living there, but it sat on the bench. It was like 7 a.m. And I thought, I'm just going to sit here with my legs crossed and my eyes closed, and I'm going to meditate. And I'm not going to care what anybody thinks or anybody's doing around me, because I have nowhere to go except within, because I am lost. I need to find that inner compass. I didn't know what that language was either, but I knew that I had nothing to lose at that point, and I had to figure this out on my own. And so that was really the first time. And then when I moved to California for my new life, I actually came across a woman. It was a yard sale in Carpinteria, my sweet little town that I loved so much. And I asked her, I don't know how we started talking about meditation. She goes, oh, but the people that live in this house they're meditation teachers, and they have a group every Wednesday that meets in the women's center And I thought, heck yeah, I asked for every Wednesday off at the little shop that I went to, and I practiced meditation with them. It was under the Shambhala tradition. And now I call them my spiritual parentals. I love them. We've known each other for like, I don't know, 12 years now. And I just cherish them so much. They were the ones that really gave me the tools to learn how to properly, if you will, formally meditate, sitting on the cushion, sitting for 20 minutes and then doing walking meditations. And since then, it was like, oh yeah, I've drifted off whenever I lived on a sailboat with my now husband, but then I had space to try to do it myself again. And now it's the non-negotiable. Just so important.
That's such a great story. And, I think that meditation doesn't find you because you have a calm mind. Meditation finds you because you want a calm mind.
Mic drop. Yes. That's so good. And I feel that it doesn't have to be as intimidating as it sounds to a lot of people too. I mean, even just sitting with yourself for a minute, or even like you mentioned on our podcast on the Partners of Commercial Fishermen that you came on, I think, was it last year? Even 3 deep breaths.
Yeah,
it's so transformative.
Exactly. It is. And, I think that sometimes we can get perfectionistic and we can get into all or none thinking and not realize the transformation of 30 seconds of mindfulness. It has a huge impact on our lives and the lives of the people around us.
Totally. Absolutely. And knowing, and that brings us back to the breath. And it really is that sense of knowing that we're not alone. Even if we are feeling lonely, we are 100% present within that self, within that source energy, within whatever you want to call it. But that just connects us all through and through.
That's right. And it's easier to remember when you're breathing. You can't feel lonely when you're breathing. I don't know why, but I know that to be true. Like it's just so connective to tune into the breath.
That intentional breath. Yes. This is why you make things so easy. You make it so easy to breathe, Brenda. But you don't make it so easy to breathe. You make it so easy to take a breath. Like you make it easy to want to intentionally do that without feeling that we need to be a yogi on a high Himalayan mountain to achieve these goals.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So I want to talk about your ebook before we close. Okay. Can you tell us about your ebook?
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, this book is the book that I wish existed when I started dating my fisherman. It's called the Partners of Commercial Fishermen Survival Guide 101. How to go from what the F to F yes. And that's how it feels because that's how it is. When you start dating a commercial fisherman, you don't know what the heck you're getting into. And I can relate to that on so many levels because I lived it. And we go through, and actually one of the first things that we talk about in the book is doing a check-in with yourself is how are we doing when our partner goes away? What are we reaching for? What are we not going to reach for? What are we doing to make sure that we are in our wholeness and our mental wealth, actually, that is a word I'm going to say. Yeah. Mental wealth to be able to pursue this kind of a life. And so it's such a great book. It has so many different practices. There's stories from other partners of commercial fishermen on how they've gone through challenges that they've experienced in their fisheries and with their partners. And it's just really the guidebook, even how to send a care package to a remote waters to make sure that your partner is getting the love that you want to share to them. And also invitations to our private communities, because we have an incredible private group chat for partners of commercial fishermen to talk to each other from all over the world. And also a private online forum. It's called the Lighthouse. It's built directly onto the website where people can get all kinds of incredible monthly resources on relationships, mental wealth, my new favorite word, financial management, and also all kinds of fishery advocacy and support, which is extremely active. So I appreciate you letting me talk and share a little bit more about the Partners of Commercial Fishermen and how we can all relate no matter what kind of lifestyle we're in. Because as women, especially, we are powerful and we are all one.
That's right. We're powerful and we're all one. And so even if you're not a partner of commercial fishermen, like let's say you followed us over from your Yes-Filled Life, invitation to go grab that ebook, because there's some wisdom in there that you can apply to your life, no matter whether your partner is at home full time, or maybe you're a military spouse, or maybe you have a trucker, long haul trucker partner, or whatever the case may be for you. There's some wisdom in that ebook for you.
Thank you for saying that. That's absolutely true. we're here for you in any capacity that you are. So this has been great.
It's been great. Thank you. Thank you for reaching out to have a chat. And then it has blossomed into this. And so I'm very grateful for the connection and your friendship and our collaboration.
I feel the same way, Brenda. I truly appreciate being in your world. It is such an honor to be able to speak to you and your incredible audience and to have your wisdom shared upon my incredible community. And I am just extremely thankful and grateful. So thank you so much for your time always.
Yes, thank you as well. And if you are a partner of Commercial Fishermen, come reach out and say hello to me. Let me know where you're coming in from. And I have a gift for your audience, and it's an energy audit. When we get clear around what's fueling us and what's draining us, then a lot of times we can make more intentional decisions around how we're spending our time, money, energy, and bandwidth. And so you can go grab that at brendawinkle.com/audit. And I'll give you the link for the show notes.
Please do, because I'm going to download and get mine as soon as we hang up from this call.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brenda.
Thanks so much for listening to this awesome episode. I hope this really served you as much as it did serve me. I have to say, I was really excited to not only talk to Brenda in general, but the fact that we can connect on that topic of loneliness. And no, it doesn't make you less of a strong person. It actually makes you more of a human. And it also makes you stronger in the way that you can learn how to move through these emotions as they arise. And it will become easier and easier because practice, right? And the best part of that is knowing that you're never alone. You're never alone, even when you feel that you are alone. Maybe you are actually alone, but energetically, we are all on that same vibe, all on that same level. And I am honored that we get to be together there. And wanted to remind you that the freebies are available. I'm also linking them in the show notes. The energy audit from Brenda, the meditation to feel better, and the 5 quick tips to surviving a fishing season. Everything is linked in the show notes. And thank you so much for being here. You know, I love you and I appreciate your time. And with much love and POCF pride. Till next time, y'all.
Thank you so much for listening. To support our community, I'd so appreciate it if you'd tap the subscribe button to this podcast or write a review. And if you're a POCF who wants to connect further, go to POCFpride.com for weekly vlogs and to learn about opportunities to join our private communities. We'd love to have you.